Let's go ahead and select that poly. Now, over on the right, we're going to have to go a little farther down. On the right-hand side of that right-hand column, you'll now see the tessellate command. Go ahead and click that. Let's now deselect the polygon. Now take a look at that. It's taken the polygon, dividing it into 4 smaller polys. We can now select those holding down the Control key as we click. Let's now see what we can find in the bevel options. We'll right-click on the screen, and then to the left of the bevel command, we'll open the option box. Again, we've got some choices down on the second row. We can bevel by group, by local normal, or by polygon. Let's choose the by poly. Now, things are all twisted around until we adjust our numbers somewhat. Let's first take our outline and see if we can't extend that out. We'll then take the amount, and I'm going to actually push this into positive territory. Okay, now why don't we go ahead and type in our numbers. We'll double-click on the amount, which is the 3rd level down. Type in 60 and press enter. Now these are going to shoot off the screen. We should probably roll our wheel back just a tad so we can see what we've done. Notice the caddy box stays open. Now down on the 3rd level, which represents the outline for our bevel, let's go ahead and type in -4. We'll press enter, then we can accept that amount by clicking on the green check mark. Now when finished, we're going to want these to represent legs to our object. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to activate the scale command and see if we can't push each of these polygons a little further to the side. Now when you fill in the gold triangle on the transform gizmo and scale, you notice that's not exactly what's happening. Now what we have to do is go up on the toolbar and change this little icon from Use Pivot Point Center down to Use Selection Center. What this does is temporarily reposition the position of our pivot point to the center of our selection. Now we can scale these out. Once you've got those out far enough, we're going to go back to the same icon on the toolbar and change it back to using the pivot centers. This will now enable us to scale the polygon directly upon itself. Once you've done that, go ahead and deselect, then orbit around so the box is standing right side up. The 2 little arms that we have sticking out on the 2nd level, let's move that entire area up. And we're going to do that by manipulating the vertices that connect that area together. Over in the Modify column, click on Vertex. Let's orbit around to more of a straight view, and then we'll window completely around the vertices that make up that 2nd section. With those now selected, we'll activate our Move command, and we can move those up. Let's now go back to polygon mode, selecting all the polygons that make up the 3rd row. Now, something we haven't talked about yet is there's a couple different ways that you can activate your sub-object options. You can click directly on the names in the modifier stack. You can also use the icons directly below. Here's vertices, edges, border, polygon, and element. Another way you can activate from one sub-object to another is using the number keys in the keyboard. Now, I'm not talking about the numpad over on the right, I'm talking about the actual numbers at the top of your keyboard. 1 will go vertex, 2 for edges, borders are 3, polygon is 4, and element is 5. Lastly, so we get them up on the table all at the same time, you can also right-click for your sub-object selections. You'll find those at the bottom of the upper left-hand square. Okay, back to the business at hand. We want to select all the polygons that make up the 3rd row. Let's now activate our bevel options. Now, as opposed to using the right mouse click, we could always go back to the bevel command on the right-hand side and click on the option box. Let's do that this time. It pretty much does the same thing. Now, in the options, let's bevel these by local normal. Then to slim this out, let's take our amount down to a negative value. I'm going to settle in right around -10. If we now want to change the outline down on the 3rd level, we can do that also. Now, this time around, we want to accept our bevel, but we want to leave the option box open. So on the bottom row of the caddy, we'll click on the green plus sign. Let's now see if we can't change that around a little. I'll take the amount of my bevel up to around 12. And for the outline, I'm going to leave that at about -16. Once you're done, go ahead and accept by clicking on the green check mark. Let's see if we can't now do a little work on the polygons on the top section of our box. In polygon mode, go ahead and select those polys. Now you don't want to have selected the polygon on the top of your box, so orbit around and make sure that you don't have that selected. And I'll roll my wheel to get a little bit closer into view and then open the extrude option box with the right mouse click. This time, down on the 2nd level of the caddy, we'll change it to by local normal. Let's now make this amount around 40. We'll press enter to lock that in, and then we'll accept our extrusion. What I'd now like to do is to select some edges, so right-click, get into Edge mode. Orbit around so we have a nice front-end look at our polygons. Then window directly across those polys to grab those edges. And once you've done that, get a little bit overhead so we can see things from a bird's eye view. Let's now do what is referred to as chamfering edges. Now we can find the chamfer command over on the right-hand side, or we can simply right-click. It's going to be located in the lower left-hand square directly below Extrude. Now chamfering an edge will divide the edge in two. Go ahead and make all the polygons that go around the sides right about the same size. Commit to the chamfer by letting go your left mouse button, then chamfer again. All we're really trying to do here is round off the top section. The polygons on the top of the box are now pretty distorted. Let's orbit to a side view and select all those polys. Now for this one, we're going to want to go from a crossing window to a window selection, so go ahead and click on the button. To the side I go. We'll activate the polygon command, and we'll make that window selection. Now once you have all those polys, go ahead and press delete. What we're trying to do is basically clean up this area. Now this ring of edges that you see around the top is considered to be a border. Using the border selection, go ahead and click on any one of those edges. Back on the right, a little further down, we'll now use the cap command. This replaces all those oddly shaped polygons with one big one. Let's go ahead now and select that large poly, and we're going to use a command called inset. It too is located either on the right-hand side or using the right mouse click. Inset creates a new smaller polygon directly in line with the existing one. Now once we've done that, we'll go ahead and bevel this up just a tad. Now when you pull back for the outline, don't go all the way to a tip. Leave there a little bit of extra meat on the top. That'll give us the opportunity of playing around with the weld command. Let's drop into vertex mode, selecting all the vertices that make up that top ring. With those all selected, we're going to pull out our glue gun and see if we can't weld them all together. Now the weld, like all the commands, is on the right-hand side, but you can also find it by right-clicking. I'm going to do that. Down in the lower left-hand square, go ahead and activate the weld option box. Using the spinner on the second level, let's go ahead and crank that up high enough where these all weld together. And once you've done that, go ahead and accept. Now if that vertex is a little bit too high in the scene or a little too short, we can always move that around. This little area on the top of our object that looks like a hat, let's select all of those as polygons. For that, I'm going to return to the crossing method of selection. Now, down on the right-hand column, we're going to be looking for a command called msmooth. When you find the button, go ahead and click. This, in essence, subdivides the geometry, making the surface area smoother. Let's go ahead now and move those polygons down just a tad. Why don't we now go back to vertex mode and again select that top vertex. The reason being is I'd like to chamfer this down a little. We'll get ourselves in good position, we'll activate the chamfer command, and we can now push that down. To wrap this up, let's do a little extra beveling on the polygons that stick out as our arms. We'll go to the polygon level, and we'll select each of those polygons. Now, getting a little closer on the action, we can go ahead and do our bevel. We'll go in, we'll go down, then we'll push out, and we'll see if we can't form this down to a point. We'll then scale that, and then we can pull those in. Very good. Get out of sub-object mode by right-clicking and choosing top level in the upper left-hand square. Go ahead and orbit around to inspect your work. So there you go with a few options when box modeling. I really can't stress enough just how important all of 3ds Max's sub-object modeling tools are. Do yourself a favor and take the time to learn them well. You get a solid grip on Max's box modeling toolset, and you'll soon be able to make pretty much anything your imagination can muster up. I'll save this out as Box Model Completed if you'd like to go in for a look.